My name is Colleen Anderson, 28 years old. While I stood completely alone at my grandfather Vincent's funeral, the man who raised me when my parents threw me away at age 11, my own mother and father were laughing and drinking on a Caribbean beach, posting photos with the caption, "Enjoying life while we can." Not a single call, not one flower, not even a fake, "I'm sorry." They chose cocktails over their own father's grave. 4 hours later, my phone buzzed. A text from Grandpa's number, even though he had been dead for 4 days. It said, "Colleen, this is Patricia, his nurse. Come to Riverside Meadows, room 217. Now, before they delete everything." What that nurse handed me in a worn canvas bag would expose the most cold-blooded betrayal I've ever seen, and turn my parents' perfect vacation into their worst nightmare. Before I tell you what was inside that bag, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this kind of story. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I read every single comment. Now, to understand how deep this betrayal goes, I need to take you back to when I was 11 years old, the day my parents decided I was no longer worth keeping. I was 11 years old when my parents decided I was too much work. That's not my interpretation. Those were their actual words. My mother sat me down at our kitchen table in Des Moines and said, "Colleen, your father and I are getting a divorce, and honestly, neither of us is in a position to take on full-time parenting right now. We think it's best if you stay with Grandpa Vincent for a little while." A little while turned into 2 years. Then they stopped calling altogether, stopped visiting, stopped pretending they were coming back. Grandpa Vincent lived in Cedar Falls, Iowa, a small town where everyone knew everyone, where the hardware store still had creaky wooden floors, where people actually waved when they drove past each other. His house was a modest 2-story with white siding at 523 Oak Avenue. But what I remember most was the workshop behind the house, tools hung on pegboards in perfect order, the smell of sawdust and wood stain, the sound of his transistor radio playing old country stations while he worked. He taught me everything in that workshop: how to measure twice and cut once, how to sand with the grain, how to drive a nail straight. By the time I was 12, I could fix a leaky faucet. At 14, I could change a tire. At 16, I built my first bookshelf from scratch. But more than the skills, he taught me something else. He taught me that family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who shows up. My parents didn't show up. Not for my middle school graduation, not for my first day of high school, not when I got my driver's license, not when I was accepted to college. Grandpa was there for all of it. Front row, camera ready, proud smile. We had a Sunday ritual. Every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, I'd come over. He'd make pancakes from scratch. The real kind, not from a box. I'd make the coffee. We'd sit at his kitchen table with the blue and white checkered tablecloth and just talk. About everything. About nothing. About life. That ritual continued even after I graduated college and became a 4th-grade teacher at Cedar Falls Elementary. Even when I got my own apartment. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock. Pancakes and coffee. Until November 2024. That's when my parents came back. After 13 years of silence, an email arrived in my inbox. Subject line, reconnection. My mother wrote that she and my father had been doing a lot of therapy. They'd grown. They'd changed. They wanted to rebuild the family relationship. They especially wanted to spend more time with Dad, meaning Grandpa Vincent, because he was getting older, and they'd realized how much time they'd wasted. I didn't believe a word of it. I told Grandpa as much, but he wanted to believe them. He was 79 years old. His son was reaching out. How could he say no? I watched him meet them for coffee that first time. watched him come back to his house with this careful, hopeful look on his face. He wanted so badly for them to have changed, and I couldn't take that hope away from him. Over the next few months, they visited more often. They took him to doctor's appointments. They helped him with errands. They were attentive, concerned. They seemed, on the surface, like they were actually trying, but small things started changing. Our Sunday morning routine began getting interrupted. Grandpa would text me, "Sweetheart, I'm tired today. Let's skip this week." Or my mother would text me, "Colleen, your grandfather needs to rest this Sunday. We'll take care of him. You focus on your teaching." By February 2025, I'd missed 4 Sundays in a row. When I pushed back, my mother's texts became more insistent. "Colleen, he's not as young as he used to be. He needs quiet. You understand, don't you?" I should have known something was wrong, but I trusted that if Grandpa needed me, he'd call. I didn't know his calls weren't getting through. I didn't know that by June 2025, I wouldn't even know where he was. March 6th, 2026, 6:45 in the morning. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. "Is this Colleen Anderson?" "Yes." "Ms. Anderson, this is Barbara from Riverside Meadows Assisted Living. I'm very sorry to inform you that Vincent Harper passed away this morning at 3:20. The words didn't make sense at first. Riverside Meadows. I'd never heard of it. Grandpa lived at home, at 523 Oak Avenue. He'd lived there for 40 years. "I'm sorry," I said. "There must be a mistake. My grandfather lives at his house. He's not in assisted living." A pause. Then gently, "Ma'am, Mr. Harper has been a resident here since June of last year. I'm very sorry for your loss." June. 8 months. He'd been living in some facility for 8 months, and I didn't know. My hands went numb. My phone slipped and I caught it, saw the screen crack at the corner. Why wasn't I told he was there? Why wasn't I contacted when he got sick? Another pause. Longer this time. "Our records show that family requested you not be contacted except in the event of death. I'm very sorry, Ms. Anderson. Is there someone we can call for you?" Family requested. I was his family. His only family. Except for the son and daughter-in-law who'd reappeared 13 months ago. I tried to speak. Couldn't. Just managed to whisper, "I'll be there." The next 4 hours were a blur. Calls to the funeral home, calls to my principal to request emergency leave, calls to my parents, voicemail, both of them. I texted. No read receipts? I emailed. Auto reply. Out of office. Will respond when able. At 11 o'clock, an email finally came through. From my mother. Subject. Dad. The body of the email was short. Sterile. "Colleen, we're devastated to hear about Dad. Unfortunately, we're currently traveling and can't make it back in time for arrangements. We booked this trip months ago and it's non-refundable. We trust you to handle everything appropriately. We'll reimburse expenses. Our thoughts are with you. Mom and Dad." I read it 3 times, trying to find something. Anything. Grief. Regret. Even performative sadness. There was nothing. Just logistics. Just money. Just the flat statement that their vacation was non-refundable. I checked the date they'd sent their planning a trip email back in February. February 22nd, the day they'd mentioned booking flights. I pulled up Grandpa's medical records that the facility finally sent over. Terminal diagnosis, stage 4, lung cancer. Diagnosis date, February 19th. Prognosis, 2 to 3 months. They'd booked their Caribbean vacation 3 days after learning their father was dying. March 7th. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. McGrath Funeral Home. A small chapel with wooden pews and rain pattering against the windows. I'd chosen the simplest casket they had because I was paying for it myself. Yellow tulips on top, because those were his favorite. 17 people came. Neighbors from Oak Avenue. A few guys from the Carpenters Union where he'd worked for 40 years. Some folks from the Lutheran church he'd attended. People who barely knew him. But they showed up. The front pew had 2 reserved signs. I removed them myself before the service started. No one was sitting there. I stood at the front and delivered a eulogy I'd written at 3 a.m, my hands shaking so badly the paper rustled. I talked about his workshop, about Sunday pancakes, about the man who taught me that showing up was the most important thing you could do for someone you loved. My voice cracked when I said, "Grandpa Vincent taught me that family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who shows up." I looked at the empty front pew. He showed up for me every single day for 17 years. I wish everyone he loved could have shown up for him today. The service ended at 3:15. People filed past offering condolences. Mrs. Chen from next door hugged me and cried. Old Pete from the union pressed a folded 20 into my hand and said, "For flowers, next time you visit him." I didn't have the heart to tell him I'd already spent everything I had. I walked to my car in the rain. Soaked. Numb. I sat in the driver's seat and let myself cry for exactly 5 minutes, because I had to drive home and I couldn't do that if I couldn't see. Then my phone buzzed. Instagram notification. My mother had tagged me in a post. I opened it. The image loaded slowly on the funeral home's weak Wi-Fi. Blue water, white sand, 2 people in swimsuits holding cocktails against a sunset. My mother, my father, smiling. The caption, "Enjoying life while we can. Sometimes you just have to live in the moment. #blessed, #living our best life, #no regrets." Posted at 2:15 p.m., 15 minutes after Grandpa's funeral had started. They knew the exact time. I'd sent them the service details in my email. They'd posted during his funeral. On purpose. I scrolled through the photos. 6 of them. Parasailing. Beach bars. Snorkeling. A comment from someone. "You two deserve this." My mother's reply. "Life's too precious to waste." I checked the location tag. Turks and Caicos. I pulled up flight records. Public information when you tag your location that specifically. They'd flown out February 28th. Booked February 22nd. The same day as the email. The same day. 3 days after his terminal diagnosis. My phone was still in my hand when it buzzed again. 6:10 p.m. A text from a number saved in my contacts as Grandpa Vincent's cell. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen. He'd been dead for 4 days. The message read, "Colleen, this is Patricia Simmons, RN at Riverside Meadows Assisted Living. Your grandfather gave me your number months ago and made me promise to contact you immediately if anything happened to him. He left something for you in his room. Room 217. You need to come tonight. Your parents are flying back tomorrow morning and they have access to his phone, his laptop, all his accounts." I overheard them on a call last week talking about tying up loose ends and making sure nothing traces back. Whatever your grandfather left you, they can't know about it. Please come now, before they delete everything. Delete everything. Tying up loose ends. My parents weren't just absent, they were hiding something, and Grandpa knew it. I put the car in drive and entered the address into my GPS, 286 Birch Street, 15 minutes away. I'd lived in this town my entire adult life, and I'd never heard of Riverside Meadows. The building was 3 stories, red brick, a sign out front, Riverside Meadows Assisted Living, compassionate care for seniors. The parking lot was mostly empty. Visiting hours were almost over. I walked through the automatic doors, antiseptic smell mixed with the scent of dinner being served somewhere, fluorescent lights. A young woman at the reception desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Patricia Simmons. She's expecting me. I'm Colleen Anderson." Recognition crossed her face. "You must be Colleen. Patricia said you'd come. Room 217, second floor. She's waiting there. The elevator took forever. I watched the numbers light up. 1, 2, ding. The doors opened onto a hallway with pale blue walls and framed watercolor prints. Room 217 was at the end. The door was open. A woman stood by the window. Maybe 50. Scrubs. Dark hair pulled back. She turned when I entered. Colleen? I nodded. I'm Patricia. Her voice was the same one from the text. Warm. Tired. She looked like she'd been crying. I'm so sorry about your grandfather. He was one of the kindest patients I've ever cared for. The room was empty now. Bed stripped, closet doors open, window facing the parking lot, a chair by the window. I imagined Grandpa sitting there, looking out, waiting. He talked about you every single day, Patricia said quietly. Every morning when I came for vitals, he'd ask if you'd called, if you were coming to visit. I didn't understand at first. Your parents told staff you weren't allowed to visit. What? They said you had mental health issues, that seeing your grandfather would upset you, that there was a restraining order being filed. The facility director believed them. I believed them. Until about 2 months ago when I walked into this room and found your grandfather crying. He was holding a photograph of you, a young girl in a graduation gown. She pulled the photo from her pocket. My 8th grade graduation. Grandpa standing next to me, both of us smiling. I'd given him a copy years ago. He'd kept it. He told me everything that day, Patricia continued. How you used to have Sunday breakfasts together. How they'd told him you were too busy with your career to visit. How they'd told you he needed rest and didn't want to be disturbed. How they'd blocked your number on his phone so when he tried to call, it wouldn't go through. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. He asked me to promise him something. If anything happened to him, I had to get this to you before your parents came back. She walked to a small closet and pulled out a worn canvas bag, army surplus. Grandpa had used it to carry tools. She set it on the bed. He hid this under his pillow. Made me swear I wouldn't let anyone else see it. He said you'd know what to do with it. I reached for the bag. My hands were shaking. Patricia touched my arm gently. There's something else you should know. Your grandfather lived here for 8 months. In all that time, your parents visited maybe 10 times. Always together. Always for less than an hour. They'd bring paperwork for him to sign. Bank forms. Legal documents. He'd ask me about them after they left. He didn't understand most of it. He'd say things like, "Why would I need to sell my house? Colleen loves that house." Or, "Why is my savings account empty? Where did the money go?" She looked at me. I'm a nurse, not a lawyer, but I've worked in elder care for 20 years. I've seen this before. Financial exploitation, isolation. I reported my concerns to the director, but your parents had all the right paperwork. Power of attorney, medical proxy, everything legal. He had cancer, I said. The words felt like glass. Stage 4. Diagnosed in January. They knew. They were with him at the oncologist. They told the doctor not to pursue aggressive treatment. Said it wasn't worth putting him through that at his age. The doctor asked if your grandfather understood. They said he did. Did he? Patricia's jaw tightened. I don't think so. He told me in February he was feeling weak, but the doctors were running tests. He didn't know it was terminal. Didn't know he had months. I think they kept that from him. The bag sat between us. Heavy. Not with weight, but with meaning. I'll leave you alone, Patricia said. Take your time. I won't tell anyone you were here. She paused at the door. Your grandfather was a good man. He deserved better. I'm sorry I couldn't do more for him while he was alive. But I can do this. I can make sure you get the truth. Then she was gone. The room was silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a television from another room. I opened the bag. Papers. Folded. Stacked. Organized with the same precision Grandpa used in his workshop. On top, a document titled Durable Financial Power of Attorney. Dated January 15th, 2025, 2 months after my parents had returned. The language was dense. Legal terminology I didn't fully understand, but the core was clear. Vincent Harper hereby grants full financial authority to Clayton Anderson and Rebecca Anderson. Clayton, my father. Rebecca, my mother. Grandpa's signature at the bottom, shaky. Not like his usual handwriting. I'd seen his signature on birthday cards, on checks, on the property deed to his house. This looked wrong, uncertain, like someone had guided his hand. In the margin, red pen. Grandpa's writing more controlled. They said this protects Colleen from legal liability if something happens to me. Lawyer said sign. I don't understand all words. Trust Clayton knows best. Clipped to the POA was the notary stamp. I looked closer. Commission expiration date, November 2024. The document was notarized in January 2025, 2 months after the notary's commission had expired. Invalid. The notarization was invalid, which meant the document might be invalid, which meant everything they'd done with it might be invalid. I set the POA aside and picked up the next stack. Bank statements. First National Bank of Cedar Falls. Account ending in 8823. Grandpa's savings account. The one he'd opened when he started working at the Carpenters Union in 1972. January 2025. Opening balance. $318,640. A lifetime of careful saving. Of never taking vacations he couldn't afford. Of driving the same truck for 15 years. Of fixing things himself instead of hiring repairmen. February statement. Transfer out, $62,000. Recipient, Anderson Family Trust. April, $45,000. June, $38,000. August, $29,000. November, $9,000. Final balance, November 2025, $183. In the margins of each statement, Grandpa's notes, shaky handwriting, questions. Asked Clayton where money going. He said investments for your future care, Dad. Trust me. But facility costs $5,800 per month. Where is rest going? On the April statement, called bank. They said transfers authorized by power of attorney. I don't remember authorizing. Asked Rebecca. She cried. Said I'm forgetting things. Getting confused. Maybe she's right. I wanted to scream. He wasn't confused. They were gaslighting him, taking his money and making him think he was losing his mind. Paperclip to the statements was a printout, Anderson Family Trust account activity. I scanned the expenditures. Credit card debt payoff, $156,000. Vehicle purchase, $68,000. Luxury travel, $38,000. Home improvements, $21,000. They'd taken his life savings and paid off their debt. Bought themselves a new car, taken vacations, fixed up their house, while telling him it was investments for his care. Next document. Home equity conversion mortgage, a reverse mortgage, property, 523 Oak Avenue, loan amount, $185,000, date, March 18th, 2025. Purpose stated on the application, medical expenses and home accessibility modifications. Grandpa's note in the margin. They said this pays for wheelchair ramp and medical equipment. I'm not in wheelchair. Why do I need this? Clayton says preventive planning. Signed papers at bank. Very confused that day. Clipped behind it, notice of loan acceleration, dated June 30th, 2025. Borrower has permanently vacated property as of June 15, 2025. Per terms of home equity conversion mortgage, full loan balance of $185,622 is now due and payable. He'd moved to the facility June 15th. 2 weeks later, the reverse mortgage became due, which meant they'd have to sell the house to pay it off. Next document, warranty deed, Black Hawk County Recorder's Office, September 12, 2025. 523 Oak Avenue sold to Heartland Residential Properties, LLC, for $285,000. Seller, Vincent Harper, via attorney-in-fact Colleen Anderson, pursuant to power of attorney dated January 15, 2025. Proceeds: $285,000 minus $185,000. 622 equals $99,000. $378. Deposited to Anderson Family Trust, my childhood home, the house where Grandpa had raised me, the workshop where he'd taught me everything. Sold, without him really understanding, without me knowing. Attached to the deed, business registration for Heartland Residential Properties, LLC. Registered agent, Rebecca Anderson. Business address, my parents' home address. They'd sold his house to their own company. Then 3 weeks later, according to another document in the stack, they'd sold it again. To a real buyer. For $312,000. A $27,000 profit. They'd extracted money 3 times from that house. The reverse mortgage cash, the sale proceeds, the flip profit. I added it up on the back of one of the statements. Savings account, $183,000. Reverse mortgage, $185,000. House sale, $97,000. Total, $465,000. Nearly $500,000. Gone in 10 months. The next document made me stop breathing. Beneficiary designation form, Grandpa's pension account, the retirement fund he'd earned from 43 years as a union carpenter. Original beneficiary, filed 1998, Colleen Anderson, granddaughter. 100%. New beneficiary form, dated November 8, 2025, Rebecca Anderson, daughter-in-law. 100%. My name crossed out. Hers written in. Grandpa's signature below. That same shaky, uncertain signature. But underneath the form was a letter, handwritten on notebook paper, dated November 10th, 2025. Sweetheart, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I failed you. They told me you were too busy with your career to handle estate matters. They said making Rebecca beneficiary was simpler. I signed. I'm sorry. I tried to call you after to ask if this was okay. Phone didn't work. They said you changed your number. I should have known better. I'm leaving you this bag because it's all I have left to give you. The truth. Don't let them win. I love you. The words, I love you, were underlined 3 times. The pen had pressed so hard it indented the paper. I sat on the stripped bed in that empty room and held his letter and finally let myself break. Not the controlled crying from the car. This was the kind of grief that bends you in half. That makes sounds you didn't know you could make. That leaves you hollow. When I could breathe again, I looked at the last item in the bag. A small spiral notebook. Blue cover. Written in Grandpa's handwriting. Journal, June 2025. I opened to the first page. Day 1, June 15th, 2025. They brought me to this place today. Riverside Meadows. They said it's better for me. I asked about Colleen. Rebecca said she's very busy with work. I'll see her soon. The room is small, but the window faces the parking lot. I can watch for her car. I turned the page. Day 3. I tried to call Colleen. The number doesn't work. They said she must have changed it. That seems strange. She would have told me. Wouldn't she? Day 5. Asked the nurse to help me call. She said family requested no outside calls to prevent confusion. I'm not confused. I just want to talk to my granddaughter. Day 8. Clayton visited today. I asked him about my house, about the money from my savings. He patted my hand and said, "Don't worry, Dad. We're taking care of everything. You just focus on resting." But I can't rest. Something feels wrong. Page after page, the handwriting getting shakier, the confusion deepening, but underneath it all, clarity. He knew. He knew something was wrong. Day 23. Overheard Rebecca on her phone in the hallway. She said, "The old man keeps asking questions." Am I the old man? Why would she talk about me like that? Day 35. Found a bank statement in the mail they forgot to take. My savings account has $183 in it. I had over $300,000. Where did it go? When I asked Clayton, he said I must be misremembering, that I never had that much. But I know my own account. I checked it every month for 50 years. Day 56. I miss Colleen. It's been 8 weeks. She used to visit every Sunday. We had pancakes. I can't remember the last time I had pancakes. I asked Rebecca to bring her. Rebecca got upset. Said I'm putting too much pressure on Colleen. That Colleen has her own life. That I need to let her go. But I never held on. Did I? The entries went on for months. Summer into fall. Fall into winter. The writing deteriorating, but the awareness never quite leaving. Month 4, November something? I don't know the exact date. They changed the beneficiary on my pension. They said it was for tax purposes. I don't understand taxes. I signed where they told me to sign. But afterwards I felt sick. That pension was supposed to go to Colleen. It's all I have to leave her. Day 201, December. Patricia told me I'm sick. Cancer. She asked if I knew. I said yes, but I'm not sure I did. Not really. Did they tell me? I can't remember. I'm so tired. But I need to remember. For Colleen. I need to write it all down before I forget. The last entries were from early March. Just days before he died. March 1st, 2026. Patricia helped me photocopy all the documents they left in my room. They think I'm too out of it to notice. But I notice. I notice everything. I'm hiding the copies in this bag. Patricia promised she'll give it to Colleen when I'm gone. March 3rd, 2026. I'm dying. They told me today I have maybe a week. I asked if they'd called Colleen. They said yes. But I know they're lying. She would come if she knew. She always came. That's how I know they're lying. I'm leaving her the truth. It's all I have left to give her. I love you, sweetheart. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from them. But maybe the truth can. Don't let them win. Not for me. For you. You deserve better than what they did to us. The last page. Written in pencil, barely legible. Sunday morning. I miss pancakes. I miss Colleen. I miss home. But I'm not scared. I did what I could. The rest is up to her. She's strong. Stronger than they know. She'll finish this. I closed the notebook. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold it. Patricia had said they were coming back tomorrow. They had access to his phone, his laptop, his accounts. They were planning to delete evidence, tie up loose ends. They didn't know about the bag. Didn't know Patricia had promised to help him. Didn't know he'd spent his final months building a case against them. I put everything back in the canvas bag, carefully. The way Grandpa would have organized his tools. Everything in order. Everything with purpose. It was almost midnight when I got home. I spread the documents across my kitchen table, made coffee, and started taking notes. By 3 in the morning, I had a timeline. By 5, I had a list of what I needed to do. By 7, I was searching for lawyers who specialized in elder financial abuse. Daniel Brooks, 20 years of practice, office in downtown Cedar Falls. Website said, Protecting Iowa's Seniors from Exploitation and Fraud. Reviews mentioned successful cases against family members who'd stolen from elderly relatives. I called at 9 o'clock sharp when his office opened. The receptionist said he was booked for weeks. I said it was an emergency involving elder financial exploitation and a terminally ill victim who'd just passed away. She put me on hold. 2 minutes later, she came back. Mr. Brooks can see you tomorrow at 10. Can you bring all documentation? I spent Sunday organizing everything, creating a spreadsheet, matching transfers to dates, highlighting discrepancies, finding patterns. Monday morning, I sat in Daniel Brooks's office with the canvas bag and my spreadsheet and told him everything. He was maybe 55, gray at the temples, reading glasses. He listened without interrupting, took notes, asked clarifying questions. When I finished, he sat back. Ms. Anderson, in 20 years of practicing elder law, I've seen a lot of cases. This is one of the most thoroughly documented and most clear-cut instances of financial exploitation I've encountered. He tapped the stack of documents. Power of attorney obtained when your grandfather had diminished capacity. Notary commission expired. That alone might invalidate the whole document. Systematic transfers. Reverse mortgage fraud. House sale to a company they control. Beneficiary changes. Isolation from the primary caregiver. You. And your grandfather's journal providing first-person testimony. He looked at me. You have two paths. Civil and criminal. Civil. We sue for return of the assets. Void the POA. Reverse the transfers where possible. Criminal. We take this to the district attorney and pursue charges for financial exploitation of an elderly person. That's a felony in Iowa. Can we do both? We can. It happens frequently in cases like this. The civil case gets you restitution. The criminal case gets you justice. How much will it cost? My retainer for a case this size is $15,000. That covers initial filings, discovery, depositions. If it goes to trial, additional fees apply. But honestly, I don't think this will go to trial. The evidence is overwhelming. They'll likely try to settle. I had $12,000 in savings, my emergency fund. Money I'd been saving to buy a house someday. I can pay $11,000 now and the rest in 2 months when I get paid. He nodded. That works. Let me draw up the retainer agreement. I signed it an hour later. Transferred the money that afternoon. By Wednesday, Daniel had filed subpoenas, bank records, county property records, reverse mortgage company files, medical records from Riverside Meadows. The evidence started piling up. Video surveillance from First National Bank on February 18, 2025. The day one of the large transfers went through. The footage showed my parents walking my grandfather into the bank. He looked confused, disoriented. My mother spoke to the teller while my father stood close to Grandpa, one hand on his elbow, guiding him, or controlling him. When the teller asked Grandpa to verify the transfer, he'd looked at my mother. She'd nodded. He'd nodded. The transfer went through. Daniel hired a forensic handwriting analyst. The signatures on the POA and the beneficiary changes were examined. The experts report. Signatures show characteristics consistent with duress or cognitive impairment. Subject appears to have been uncertain or guided during signing. 85% probability signatures were obtained improperly. We got IP address logs for the online banking transfers. 3 of the transfers, totaling $96,000, were initiated from IP addresses traced to my mother's cell phone. Grandpa's primary care physician, Dr. Helen Murphy, provided a statement. In December 2024, when Grandpa first started showing memory issues, she'd specifically advised the family, Vincent should not make major financial decisions without independent legal counsel and a thorough capacity evaluation. She'd documented that advice in his medical chart. In January 2025, when the POA was signed, there was no capacity evaluation. No independent counsel, Just my parents and a lawyer whose name appeared on several other elder exploitation cases Daniel had handled. By March 17th, Daniel had compiled a 467-page evidence package. "This is the strongest case I've built in years," he said. "We have means, motive, opportunity, and documentation. Your grandfather essentially built the prosecution's case for them before he died. What happens now? Now we decide. Do you want me to present this to the district attorney?" I thought about Grandpa sitting in that room, watching the parking lot, waiting for me, writing in his journal, documenting their betrayal, building evidence so that even if he couldn't fight them himself, I could. Yes. Give it to the DA. Thursday, March 12th. I was teaching long division to my fourth graders when my phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. "DA has reviewed evidence. They're filing criminal charges, 5 counts. Financial exploitation of elderly person, 2 counts. Theft first degree. Forgery. Fraudulent practices. Possible 25 to 50 years combined. Arrest warrants being issued." I excused myself to the bathroom and read the text again. 25 to 50 years. My parents were 53 and 51. If they served even a fraction of that, they'd be elderly themselves when they got out. If they got out. Before I filed anything legal, before the DA got involved, I needed to confront them myself. Daniel advised against it. Let the system handle it. Don't give them a chance to explain or manipulate, but I needed to hear it from them. Needed to give them one chance to tell the truth. Thursday evening, I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. Vacation relaxed. "Colleen, honey, how are you holding up? We feel just terrible we couldn't be there. I need to talk to you about Grandpa's estate." "Of course. We'll be back Saturday. We can all sit down and go through everything together. I'm sure there are some assets we'll need to probate." "Where's his money?" Silence. 3 seconds. 4. "I'm sorry?" "His savings account. Where's the money?" "Sweetheart, I don't know what you're talking about. Your grandfather's finances were complicated. We were helping him manage by transferring out $318,000? By taking a reverse mortgage on his house and then selling it to a company you own?" Longer silence. I could hear waves in the background, still on the beach. Still enjoying life while they could. "Colleen." My father's voice now. He'd taken the phone. "I don't appreciate your tone. We did everything legally. We had power of attorney. We made decisions in your grandfather's best interest." His best interest? He died in a facility he didn't understand, thinking I'd abandoned him, while you spent his money on vacations and cars and paying off your debt. You don't know what you're talking about. Your grandfather was declining. He needed help. We provided it. Every transaction was authorized. Authorized by a power of attorney with an expired notary stamp? Authorized while he had diminished capacity and no independent legal counsel? Silence. "How did you know about the notary?" My mother's voice, tight, scared. "I know everything. I have all his bank statements, the deed transfers, the reverse mortgage documents, his journal where he wrote about how you isolated him from me, how you lied to both of us, how you blocked my number on his phone." That's not true. We didn't. "I have his journal, Mom. He documented everything. Every visit. Every lie you told him. Every time he tried to reach me and couldn't. 8 months of entries. My father again. You need to be careful making accusations you can't prove. I can prove all of it. I have video from the bank, IP logs showing transfers from your phone, medical records showing you prevented him from getting aggressive cancer treatment, witness testimony from his nurse." His nurse? Patricia? She had no right. She had every right. He asked her to get the truth to me, and she did. Everything. The whole canvas bag full of evidence he spent his last months collecting. I heard them whispering to each other. Frantic. Urgent. Colleen. My mother's voice was different now. Harder. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. We understand. But you need to be very careful about making accusations, especially unfounded ones. There could be legal consequences for defamation. Legal consequences. You want to talk about legal consequences? We're going to hang up now. When we get home, we can discuss this calmly with our attorney present. Good idea. My attorney will be there too, along with the district attorney, who's filing 5 felony charges against you. Silence. Complete silence. Even the background noise of waves seemed to disappear. You hired an attorney? I did. And tomorrow, arrest warrants will be issued. For financial exploitation of an elderly person, theft, forgery, and fraud. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. It's probably your last one for about 25 years. I hung up. 6 minutes later, my email dinged. Subject: Cease and desist, Vincent Harper Estate. From Baxter and Klein Legal Group. My parents had a lawyer on retainer. The email threatened legal action for harassment, defamation, and interference with estate administration. It demanded I stop making false accusations immediately. I forwarded it to Daniel. His response came back in under a minute. Standard intimidation. Ignore it. They're panicking. That's good for us. Friday morning, the smear campaign began. Email blast to 15 family members. Cousins I barely knew. Aunts and uncles who'd never bothered to visit Grandpa. All from my mother's account. Subject: Concerned about Colleen. Body: Dear family, it's with a heavy heart that we share that Colleen is going through a very difficult time following Dad's passing. She's making some very concerning accusations about us managing Dad's finances. We've spoken to her doctors, and they believe she's experiencing a grief-induced mental health crisis. We're asking everyone to please not engage with her on this topic until she gets the help she needs. We love her so much and just want her to be well. Please keep her in your prayers. Love, Rebecca and Clayton. By noon, I'd gotten 5 calls. Aunt Jennifer: Honey, are you okay? Your mom said you're not doing well. Cousin Beth: Just checking in. I heard you're going through something. My father's brother. Colleen: I know grief is hard, but you can't go around making accusations. They were isolating me the same way they'd isolated Grandpa, making people doubt me, making me seem unstable. Then the Facebook post. Public. My mother's account. Our family is going through a difficult time. Please keep my daughter in your prayers as she processes her grandfather's death. Grief can manifest in unexpected ways. We're here for her and hope she finds peace soon. 83 likes, 24 comments of support, praying for your family. Mental health is so important. Stay strong. No mention of me by name, no direct accusations, just careful implications, plausible deniability. One comment from a stranger. This is exactly why families need to stay together and not let lawyers get involved. So sad. Saturday morning, Daniel called. They filed a guardianship petition. Emergency hearing scheduled for Wednesday. They're claiming you're incapacitated by grief and unable to make sound decisions. They want to be appointed your legal guardians. I actually laughed. It was so absurd. I'm 28. I have a full-time job. I pay my bills. I'm perfectly competent. I know. This won't go anywhere. But it's a tactic. Harassment. Running up your legal fees. Making you seem unstable to extended family. It'll cost them about $8,000 to file this, and it'll get thrown out immediately. Let them waste their money. By Sunday, I was exhausted. Emotionally, physically. I'd barely slept. Barely eaten. The weekend had been a blur of phone calls and emails and social media posts I had to force myself not to respond to. I drove to Grandpa's house, the one that had been sold. I didn't know if the new owners had moved in yet. I just needed to see it. The for sale sign was gone. A different car in the driveway. curtains in the windows I didn't recognize. I sat in my car across the street and looked at it. The white siding. The workshop out back. The porch where Grandpa used to sit on summer evenings. Someone else's home now. I cried. Not the grief from the funeral. Not the anger from discovering the theft. Just loss. Pure, simple loss of a place that had meant home. Wednesday, March 20th. Guardianship hearing, Black Hawk County Courthouse. My parents' attorney was a sharp-dressed woman in her 40s. She presented evidence, copies of my aggressive emails to my parents, screenshots of me obsessing over financial documents, character testimony from my mother about how I'd been acting erratically since Grandpa's death. Daniel countered with my employment records. Excellent performance reviews from my principal. No disciplinary actions, no concerns about my teaching. A letter from my doctor stating I was in good physical and mental health. The judge, Sharon O'Brien, maybe 60, sharp eyes, listened to both sides for about 30 minutes. Then she held up a hand. I've heard enough. Ms. Anderson has a stable job, clean medical records, and no history of mental health issues. The only evidence of alleged instability is coming from the petitioners, who are themselves under investigation for financial exploitation of the decedent. This petition appears to be retaliatory rather than protective. Petition denied. She looked at my parents. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to pay Ms. Anderson's legal fees related to this hearing, $3,800. And I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation into the underlying financial allegations. My mother's face went white. My father stared at the table. We walked out of the courthouse. Daniel pulled me aside. This is going exactly where we want it to go. The DA already has the evidence package. The judge just gave them another reason to move forward. Monday, March 23rd. I was grading papers during my lunch break when Daniel called. The DA filed charges this morning. 5 felony counts, 2 counts of financial exploitation of an elderly person, theft in the first degree, forgery, fraudulent practices, arrest warrants issued. Do you know where your parents are? They flew back from Caribbean last week. They're home, I think. Good. Warrants will be executed within 48 hours. Wednesday, March 25th, 3:45 p.m. Des Moines International Airport. I wasn't there, but Daniel got the details from the arresting officers. My parents walked through baggage claim. Tanned, rested, pulling suitcases with Turks and Caicos tags still attached. 2 detectives approached. Clayton Anderson, Rebecca Anderson, Black Hawk County Sheriff's Office. You're both under arrest for financial exploitation of an elderly person, theft, and forgery. Right there, in the airport, in front of travelers. While they were still in their vacation clothes, still smiling from their trip, handcuffs, Miranda rights. The suitcases left on the floor. I got the call at 4:15. They're in custody. Arraignment tomorrow morning. Thursday, March 26th, 9 a.m. I sat in the courtroom gallery with Daniel. My parents were brought in wearing orange jumpsuits. County jail issue. My mother looked like she'd been crying. My father looked furious. The charges were read aloud. Each one. Financial exploitation of an elderly person, Class C felony, punishable by up to 10 years. Theft in the first degree, Class C felony, punishable by up to 10 years. Forgery, Class D felony, punishable by up to 5 years. Fraudulent practices, Class D felony, punishable by up to 5 years. The judge asked how they pleaded. Not guilty. Both of them. Firm. Bail was set at $50,000 each. $100,000 total. Given the substantial evidence of financial crimes, the defendant's recent extended international travel during the victim's funeral, and flight risk, bail is set at $50,000 each. Defendants must surrender passports. Travel is restricted to Iowa. All bank accounts and assets related to the alleged offenses are hereby frozen pending resolution of this case. Asset freeze. They couldn't touch any of the money they'd taken. Couldn't access the accounts. Couldn't sell anything. By 5 p.m., they'd posted bail. Used cash advances on credit cards. One of the few financial resources not yet frozen. Out, but trapped. Awaiting trial. Friday, March 27th, the preliminary hearing was scheduled for May 15th. If the judge found probable cause, it would go to trial. Probably June or July. They'll try to plea deal, Daniel said. The evidence is overwhelming. Going to trial would be suicide. My guess is their attorney will approach the DA in the next few weeks. What kind of deal? Best case for them? Plead guilty to the exploitation charges, drop the others. Minimal prison time, but significant restitution and probation. Worst case, all charges stick, 10 to 25 years, full restitution plus penalties. What do you think will happen? Honestly, they'll take a deal, plead to the main charges. Maybe avoid prison entirely but get heavy probation and be ordered to repay everything. $465,000 plus interest and legal fees. They'll be paying it back for the rest of their lives. Saturday, March 28th. I got a call from a Mrs. Walsh, attorney in downtown Cedar Falls. Ms. Anderson, I'm calling about a matter related to your grandfather's estate. He came to see me in July of last year. Said he needed to make some arrangements that his family couldn't know about. He set up a trust and executed a will with me. I was instructed to contact you after his death. I met with her that afternoon. She handed me a sealed envelope. For Colleen, written on the front in Grandpa's handwriting. Inside, a will. Dated July 23rd, 2025. Witnessed by Mrs. Walsh and her paralegal. I, Vincent Harper, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all prior wills and beneficiary designations. I leave my entire estate to my granddaughter, Colleen Anderson. This includes, but is not limited to, the property at 523 Oak Avenue, Cedar Falls, all bank accounts, all retirement accounts, all personal property, and any insurance policies. Signed and notarized properly, filed with the county. Your grandfather was very clear, Mrs. Walsh said. He told me his son and daughter-in-law had been pressuring him to sign documents he didn't fully understand. He wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, you would inherit everything. But they sold the house, drained his accounts, changed the beneficiaries, which is why this will is so important. Everything they did was fraudulent. With this will and the criminal charges, we can unwind all of it. The house sale, the transfers, all of it. It'll take time, but you'll get back what was rightfully yours. I held the will. Grandpa's signature. Strong, clear. This one wasn't shaky. This one was deliberate. He'd known, even back in July, 9 months before he died. He'd known they were stealing from him. And he'd protected me the only way he could. Sunday, March 29th. 10 o'clock in the morning. I made pancakes in my apartment, sat at my small table, put a second plate across from me. Empty. It wasn't the same as his kitchen, wasn't the same as the blue and white check tablecloth. But the ritual mattered. The remembering. I ate slowly, drank coffee, looked at the empty chair. I did it, Grandpa, I said to the silence. They're going to pay. Maybe not in jail, maybe just in money and reputation and the rest of their lives, but they're going to pay. The apartment was quiet. Just me and the memory of Sunday mornings and pancakes and a man who'd shown up every single time it mattered. Monday, March 30th, Daniel called with an update. The DA spoke with their attorney. They're floating the idea of a plea. Guilty to the 2 exploitation charges. Drop the rest. 5 years probation each. No prison time, but $493,000 in restitution. The $465 they took plus interest and $28,000 in legal fees to the county. Mandatory community service. Permanent record. No prison? It's their opening offer. DA hasn't accepted. Personally, I think we can push for at least some prison time. But even without it, the restitution will destroy them. $493,000 they have to pay back. Their wages will be garnished, their assets sold. They'll be paying it off for the next 26 years. Let me think about it. I thought about Grandpa, sitting in that room, documenting everything, building the case not out of revenge but out of love. He'd wanted me to have the truth, to have justice, but he'd also wanted me to have peace. Tuesday, March 31st, 3 weeks and 1 day since Grandpa died. I stood in my classroom after school, looking at my students' artwork on the walls, stick figures and crayon drawings and misspelled words that made me smile. Normal life, teaching, grading, planning lessons. This was still here, still real. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Parents' attorney formally proposed plea deal to DA, guilty on both exploitation charges, drop others, 3 years probation, $465,000 restitution, community service, no prison. DA asking for your input. What do you want? I thought about what I wanted. Prison? To watch them rot in a cell? To destroy them the way they destroyed Grandpa's last months? No, that wasn't what Grandpa would have wanted. He'd built a case for truth, for justice, not for revenge. I texted back, whatever the DA recommends, I trust the process. The response came 10 minutes later. DA is accepting the plea with modifications. Guilty on exploitation charges. 5 years probation, not 3. Restitution plus fees. 1,000 hours community service. They'll take it. Formal plea hearing scheduled for late April. You won't have to be there if you don't want to. I'll be there. I wanted to see their faces when they admitted what they'd done. I left school and drove to 523 Oak Avenue. Sat in my car across the street. The new owners had put up a swing set in the backyard. I could see kids playing through the fence, hear their laughter. The house had a new life now, a different life. That was okay. That was how it should be. I'd get the money back eventually. The legal system would unwind the fraudulent sale. I'd own the house again. But I didn't think I'd live there. Too many ghosts. Too much loss. Maybe I'd sell it to a family with kids. People who'd fill it with the kind of love Grandpa had filled it with. Who'd use the workshop to build things. Who'd have Sunday morning traditions at that kitchen table. That felt right. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. Ms. Anderson, this is Patricia from Riverside Meadows. I heard about the arrest. I'm so glad. Your grandfather would be proud of you. If you ever want to talk, or if there's anything I can do, please reach out. You gave him justice. That matters. I saved her number. Texted back. Thank you for keeping your promise to him. You gave me the truth. That's everything. I drove to Riverside Meadows. Hadn't been back since that first night. Walked up to the second floor. Room 217. A new resident now. I could hear a television through the door. Someone else's grandmother or grandfather. Someone else's story. But I stood there for a minute. In the hallway. And said it out loud. I finished it, Grandpa, like you knew I would. They can't hurt anyone else now. They can't touch what you left me. And I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. The door down the hall opened. Patricia stepped out. Saw me. Smiled sadly. I thought you might come back. I needed to. To tell him. He knows. She said it with certainty. Wherever he is, he knows. We stood there in that hallway. 2 people connected by a man who'd loved me enough to fight for me even when he was dying. Who'd trusted a nurse to keep a promise. who documented the truth so it couldn't be buried with him. You were kind to him, I said. In those last months. That matters more than you know. He was easy to be kind to. Patricia's eyes filled. I've been a nurse for 20 years. I've seen a lot of patients. But I'll never forget your grandfather. The way he talked about you. The hope in his voice every time someone walked past his door. The journal he kept. He loved you so much. I loved him too. I know you did. He knew it too. That's why he fought so hard to make sure you knew the truth. Even when he was confused about so many things, he was never confused about that. I left Riverside Meadows as the sun was setting, drove home, made dinner, graded papers, planned tomorrow's lesson on fractions, life continuing, normal and strange and painful and okay all at once. That night, I opened Grandpa's journal again, read the last entry one more time. She'll finish this. He'd been right. I had finished it. The criminal case was moving forward. The assets would be recovered. The truth was documented and filed and part of the public record now. But the real finish wasn't in courtrooms or arrest warrants or restitution orders. It was in this. I knew the truth. I knew he'd never stopped loving me, never stopped waiting for me, never stopped fighting for me. They'd stolen his money, his house, his final months, but they hadn't stolen what mattered most. They hadn't stolen his voice, his testimony, his love. That was still here, in the journal, in the letters, in Patricia's memory, in mine. My name is Colleen Anderson. I'm 28 years old. 3 weeks ago, I buried my grandfather alone while my parents celebrated on a beach. Today, they're out on bail, facing years of probation, financial ruin, and criminal records that will follow them forever. Justice hasn't been fully served yet. The trial is months away. The money will take years to recover. The workshop is owned by someone else. The house is gone. But I have something they can never take. I have the truth. I have the evidence. I have my grandfather's final gift. His voice, his documentation, his unshakable belief that I would finish what he started. They thought they could get away with it. Thought an old man with failing memory couldn't fight back. Thought isolation and paperwork and legal authority would protect them. They were wrong. Because Grandpa didn't need to be strong or young or legally powerful to win. He just needed to be thorough, patient, and willing to leave a roadmap for someone who loved him. That roadmap led here, to March 31st, 2026, to a moment where the betrayal is exposed, the evidence is filed, and the people who hurt him are finally facing consequences. It's not over. Legal cases take time. Healing takes longer, but I'm not waiting in a room by a window, wondering if anyone will come. I'm not sitting alone, documenting lies because no one will listen. I'm standing in my own apartment, holding my grandfather's journal, knowing that he fought for me until his last conscious moment, and that I fought for him after. That's not revenge. That's not bitterness. That's love. Real love. The kind that shows up. The kind that builds birdhouses and makes pancakes and keeps promises and documents the truth even when it's hard. The kind of love that doesn't end when someone dies. They wanted to erase him. To erase what he meant to me. To erase the years we had together. They failed. Because on Sunday morning, I'll make pancakes again. I'll sit at my table with an empty chair across from me. I'll drink coffee and remember and know that he's still here. In the ritual, in the memory, in the truth that can't be deleted or hidden or stolen. They took his money, his house, his final year. But they couldn't take this. The knowledge that I was loved. Completely, unconditionally. By a man who showed up every single day for 17 years and fought for me even when he couldn't fight for himself. That's worth more than $465,000. That's worth everything. March 31st, 2026. Day 25 since I buried him. Day 1 of whatever comes next. The wait begins. For the trial, for the sentencing, for the restitution, for the final legal resolutions. But I'm not waiting alone. I'm carrying Grandpa forward. In the workshop plans I'm sketching, in the scholarship fund I'll establish in his name, in the way I'll show up for my students the way he showed up for me. That's how this story ends. Not with a courtroom victory or a jail sentence or money returned, but with a choice to carry love forward instead of letting betrayal poison what remains. They tried to bury the truth with him. Instead, he buried them with it. And I'm the one still standing, still teaching, still making pancakes on Sunday mornings, still here. That's not just survival, that's victory. The quiet kind, the kind that builds slowly, the kind that lasts. My name is Colleen Anderson. I'm 28 years old, and I'm my grandfather's granddaughter. That means I show up. I keep promises. I fight for the truth. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They taught me what family isn't. He taught me what family is. I know which lesson I'm keeping.